Welcome to Get Sleepy, where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. My name's Thomas, and as always, it's my honor to be your host. Tonight's story was written by Chase and will be read by Simon. We'll be rejoining Brom, the wandering storyteller, who we last met in the town of Willowbrook. Afterwards, Brom continued his travels, sharing his fairy tales with all who would listen. Along the way, he's picked up an unlikely companion, a mischievous sprite named Kipwick. In tonight's story, the two make their way to Thistlehold. There, they find a room at the local tavern for the night, and Brom regales the crowd with a few of his favourite tales. Okay, my friends, it's nearly time for our story. I'm guessing that right now, you're in bed, all wrapped up and ready for a good night's sleep. So let's help you get into the perfect state of body and mind to ensure you can enjoy just that. Sometimes we can ease into rest simply by being in a familiar setting that we find deeply relaxing. So, as you settle into the comfort of your bed and you start to breathe a little slower, relaxing into this moment, I'd like you to think of a place or a scene that makes you feel calm and content. It could be somewhere in your home, or maybe your garden. It could be a scenic view from a walk you often take. Maybe it's a sunny beach or a cozy cafe. Without force, let the image of this place develop in your mind. And picture yourself in this scene. Are you on the move, or are you resting in one spot? Perhaps you're enjoying a calming activity, like reading a book or sipping a delicious drink. And maybe in this place, you even feel comfortable enough to close your eyes, to enjoy a few deep breaths, and to drift into a lovely daydream or even a nap. Just bask in the comfort and contentment of this place. It's special to you because it's somewhere you can be peaceful and calm, free of pressure or responsibility. When you're ready, you can allow your mind to gently let go of that scene and instead focus on the tale Simon is about to tell as we travel to a quaint town far away. This is where our story begins.
The sun began to lower in the sky, outlining the quaint town of Thistlehold in warm, golden tones. The town was nestled between rolling hills covered in wild flowers, with a winding river cutting through the land. The leaves of the trees rustled in the evening breeze, which carried with it the distant murmur of the river. Brom, the storyteller with a flowing white beard, wandered into this idyllic setting. He was accompanied by Kipwick, a tiny flying sprite. The sprite's wings beat in tandem with the soft patter of the storyteller's footsteps as he walked along the cobblestone streets. Around them, the townsfolk went about their daily routines, a few turning their heads to glimpse the newcomers. Brom, with his traveller's cloak and a twinkle in his eye, and Kipwick, the playful sprite, looked like figures plucked from a fairy tale. Kipwick zoomed through the air before settling on Brom's shoulder, his large, expressive eyes sparkling as they took in the sights of the small town. Thistlehold was picturesque. Colourful flowers and ivy adorned its timber-framed houses, while smoke curled lazily from the chimneys, carrying the scent of home-cooked meals through the air. Making their way through the heart of the town, Brom and Kipwick approached a large building. The sign, "The Cozy Kettle," hung above the door. The wooden structure and warmly lit windows of the tavern drew them closer. As they entered, they were immediately greeted by friendly faces and the delectable aroma of roasted meats and hearty stews. The murmur of conversations filled the air. Wooden beams crisscrossed the ceiling, and a large stone fireplace occupied most of the far wall, the flames casting shadows over the room. Fergus, the tavern's innkeeper, stood behind the bar, polishing a glass bottle. His eyes, the same rich oak colour as the mead he served, twinkled with recognition and curiosity as he watched Brom and Kipwick enter. The wandering storyteller's reputation preceded him. With a smile, Fergus motioned them over and introduced himself. He welcomed them to town, admitting that he knew Brom from sight alone. The storyteller's enchanting tales were well known. Appreciating the warm welcome, Brom smiled and introduced Kipwick, who met the innkeeper's gaze with a playful wink, followed by a twirl in the air. The sprite's good energy brightened the atmosphere even more, as laughter from amused onlookers rippled through the tavern. Fergus proposed a deal to the duo. He would offer a room for the night in exchange for a round of storytelling. After sharing a glance, Brom and Kipwick nodded in unison. They told the kind-hearted innkeeper that it would be an honour to regale the good people of Thistlehold with a couple of stories. And so The tavern's patrons gathered around the fireplace as the sun disappeared beneath the horizon, a smattering of twinkling stars taking its place in the darkening sky. Having just finished a delicious dinner at the bar, Brom took his seat by the hearth with Kipwick on his shoulder. The flickering flames lit the faces in the audience as everyone settled in. The scene had all the makings of a magical evening, of storyteller and sprite, innkeeper and townsfolk coming together for a night of storytelling. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation as Brom retrieved the worn, leather-bound book from his bag. He prepared to share his first tale of the night, The Falling Star. Everyone in the crowd leaned forward in their seats, their eyes fixed on the storyteller with rapt attention, while the crackling fire sent tendrils of warmth through the tavern. Flipping through the book, Brom stopped on a dog-eared page and began the story, his words a soothing rhythm. Once, he said, in a land not so far away, there lived a young girl named Lila. Like most children, Lila was a dreamer who gazed up at the night sky with a heart full of hopes and wishes. As they listened, the tavern's patrons could almost feel the cool night air and see the vast expanse of stars. One night, said Brom, while she lay beneath the blanket of stars, Lila saw a sight that would change her life forever. A brilliant, shimmering star fell from the heavens. The audience, much like young Lila, held their breath as they imagined the star's descent. Brom's words conjured a vivid image of the star streaking across the sky, leaving a trail of stardust in its wake. He described Lila watching the star in wonder as it landed in an open field only a short distance away from her. Her curiosity got the best of her, so she walked to the fallen star's resting place. A celestial being of immense power, the star offered to grant the girl one wish, with the condition that she make it count for something good. Lila's thoughts went to the highest mountain. It was a place none had dared to venture before because of the fear of the unknown. Lila believed that facing that fear was important. So she wished for the power to change into a bird and be able to fly. The star hummed its approval as it granted her wish, before dissolving into stardust. The next instant, Lila transformed into a majestic falcon. With a heart full of excitement and gratitude, she spread her wings and flew through the night sky. At this point in the story, Kipwick leaped into the air to act out the scene, flying around the tavern and whooping with delight. The audience laughed, and as the sprite returned to his perch on Brom's shoulder, the storyteller shook his head in amusement. Continuing the story, he spoke of Lila marveling at her newfound power and vision. She could spot even the tiniest details from high above and saw the beauty of the world from a bird's perspective. She bravely flew all the way to the top of the mountain. And up there, she made a startling discovery. A shimmering, opaque veil hovered in the air a few feet off the ground, the mysterious portal enticing her with unknown wonders. Still in her bird form, Lila called upon her courage and flew into the portal. She felt a ripple of energy pass over her, and soon she came out on the other side, where she found an entirely different world of astonishing beauty and wonder. The realm was familiar to her somehow, and then she recognized a few of the creatures from her dreams and realized that this place was the dream world. Animals possessed the ability to talk, and anything was possible here. Lila had to share the amazing discovery with others. Her courage and kindness ultimately bridged the gap between the two worlds. And for both sides, the portal became a gateway of connection, adventure, and dreams come true. Lila's experience was a lesson in conquering fears and following dreams, no matter where they may lead. By the time Brom's first story came to an end, the tavern's patrons had been transported to a world of infinite possibilities. In the warm glow of the fire, the audience exchanged smiles and applauded. All had been touched by the story and eagerly waited to hear another one. Brom shuffled through the book's pages to find the next story, while Fergus walked around refilling drinks and stoking the fire. The room was silent as Brom began the Symphony of Colours, describing a faraway land where Leo, a young artist, lived. For Leo, each day was a celebration of creativity and imagination. Those who knew him cherished his unique gift of bringing his art to life. His drawings and paintings were special, as anything he created on the canvas came alive. Birds would sing, oceans would shimmer with real waves, and flowers would bloom from the surface. Leo grew up listening to all kinds of wonderful stories. His favorite was the one about some mysterious woods, a place that held the secret of where to find the most beautiful colors in the world. One day, he decided to venture there himself. Armed with his sketchbook and a curious spirit, he trekked into the heart of the forest. His exploration led him deep into the thick foliage. And there, he stumbled across another artist who was also working on a painting of the forest. She was a shy but friendly troll named Hue, as in shade. Her hair was a palette of colors, rising into the air like a tufted rainbow, and she had an ability like no one else. she could blend and mix the colours of anything at the mere thought. It didn't take long for the two to hit it off and become fast friends, with their mutual appreciation for art and creativity. Then they realized that they both had the same wish: to uncover the forest's secret. Their meeting proved to be serendipitous, as Leo and Hugh came to discover that the secret was theirs to have by working together. They sat side by side and finished the painting of the forest around them. Their creations came to life, the branches of the painted trees extending out of the canvas, while leaves of every colour fluttered in the breeze. There was freedom in their art, which seemed to unlock something. They watched their colourful trees join those of the forest. The leaves began to form letters on the ground until a name appeared: Rainbow Spring. Sharing an excited look, Leo and Hugh knew this was the secret they were after. They wasted no time in setting off on a journey to the spring. Only resting at night, their travels took them through enchanted forests, over towering mountains, and across sparkling streams. Along the way, they attracted the attention of other creatures of many different colours who joined their quest. The red rose elf, the azure nymph, and the sunbeam giant each brought their own strengths to the crew. And together they soon found the fabled Rainbow Spring. When they arrived at the spring, which was breathtaking in its beauty, Leo instinctively knew what to do. He passed out paintbrushes to the others, then dipped his brush into the spring's waters, and he began to paint the most extraordinary masterpiece. Everyone had something to contribute. The colours swirled and danced off the page, painting the sky in a brilliant rainbow. Every colour that had ever existed, and some that were entirely new, seeped into the world, imbuing it with a vibrance never seen before. Leo realized then that the true beauty wasn't just in the colours themselves, but in how they came together, much like their motley crew. Everyone in the land marvelled at the radiant colours that now adorned their world. And they also learned a valuable lesson: that the real magic is in finding harmony among the differences that make every living thing special. Leo and Hugh's tale became a legend. From that day on, the creatures of the land celebrated their diversity, and in doing so, they created a world that was even more vibrant and beautiful than before. Brom concluded his story and let the sprite pick the next one. Meanwhile, the audience had their drinks refilled and dirty dishes were cleared from the tables. Then, this time, it was the high-pitched voice of Kipwick that started telling the story. It was called Tess, the fairy with a tail. The tavern's patrons had to lean in a little closer to hear him, as he spoke of a magical realm where fairies with gossamer wings danced among the flowers. But one fairy, named Tess, wasn't like the rest of her kind. Instead of the graceful wings her fellow fairies had, Tess was born with a delicate, iridescent tail. It shimmered like a rainbow and made her feel different. From a young age, Tess had been anxious and shy about what others thought of her. She was afraid of being ridiculed for her tail by the other fairies, so she often tucked it away, hiding it beneath the folds of her gown. She would isolate herself and spend time alone, watching her friends twirl and soar through the sky from a distance. Tess was sitting by a babbling brook one day when she noticed a lone butterfly on the log next to her. Its wing was slightly bent, and it couldn't keep up with its companions. Her heart ached for the small creature. When she accidentally touched it with her tail, much to her amazement, she helped mend the butterfly's wing. Not only that, the creature transformed, its colors becoming healthier and more vibrant than before. As word of Tess's abilities spread throughout the forest, animals of all kinds sought out her help. In her care, squirrels with tangled tails, birds with misshapen beaks, and rabbits with thorns in their paws all found healing. Her tail was no longer a source of insecurity, but a symbol of hope across the realm. The more Tess used her tail to help a variety of creatures, the more she came to realize that it was a gift. What made her unique was a blessing, not a burden. One day, a majestic unicorn arrived, seeking Tess's help with an injured hoof. Compassion swelled within the fairy's heart. More comfortable in her own skin now, she used her tail to gently touch the unicorn's hoof. In a burst of radiant light, the unicorn was healed. The creature was so grateful that it used its magic to bestow the gift of flying on Tess. Now, a pair of magnificent wings sprouted from either side of her tail. She finally had the power to soar through the sky, just like any other winged creature. And, more importantly, she was no longer anxious or shy. With her tail wings, Tess took to the sky alongside her friends whenever she wanted, dancing among the clouds, happy as can be. And she was so inspired that she shared her gift of healing and hope with the entire realm. She knew that her story would touch the hearts of others who struggled with their identity. Kipwick's own wings beat softly as he mimicked Tess's graceful flight, bringing joy and laughter to the crowd. The sprite ended the tale by encouraging those in the audience to find the incredible gifts within themselves. Everyone in the tavern was inspired by the heartwarming message of the story. That it's our differences that make us extraordinary. And by embracing them, we can bring magic and light to the world. For the next story, Brom asked the audience for any particular requests. A young girl raised her hand and suggested one with a wizard or a witch in it. Smiling, the storyteller said that he knew of the perfect tale that had both. He thumbed through the book until he stopped on The Tale of the Unbreakable Bond. Brom waited for the room to quiet down before introducing two of the main characters in the story, a kind-hearted wizard named Duncan and a wise witch named Willa. Not only were they known for their extraordinary powers, but for their close-knit friendship too. They worked together often, as their magical abilities complemented each other. Their gifts brought peace and prosperity to the realm. But one day, they heard a prophecy that made them concerned. It spoke of twin brothers, Patrick and Liam. Because they had been born under a rare celestial alignment, the twins possessed unique magic. Depending on how they used it, their magic would bring either great blessings upon the world or a curse. When their next birthday rolled around, Patrick and Liam had to make a decision which would change the course of history forever. Determined to ensure that only good things came to pass, Duncan and Willa set out on a journey to locate the twins. They travelled day and night, their powers leading them to a small village where they found the brothers. Wholly unaware of their destiny, the twins were as different as night and day. While Patrick was cautious and thoughtful, Liam was daring and impulsive. They each possessed magic that reflected their differences. Patrick could relieve people of anger, sadness, or pain, as he was able to absorb negative emotions. Liam, on the other hand, could instill positive emotions, such as joy, hope, or love. Duncan and Willa took the twins under their wing, as it was obvious that the boys could benefit from their magical expertise and guidance. The wizard and witch used the next couple of weeks to teach them the ways of magic and guide them on the path of wisdom. The twins' abilities grew quickly under the tutelage of their mentors, and they learned the importance of balance. There couldn't be light without shadow, or the day without the night. Opposites, like two sides of a coin, complemented each other. If it wasn't for all the differences in life, the world wouldn't be as it was, where everything served a purpose and came together as a whole. The duality of the twins' natures was the same. The celestial alignment of their birthday meant that when the day arrived that year, it was time for the twins to make an important decision. By now, they were aware of the prophecy and understood the impact that their magic and choices had in life. Patrick and Liam chose to embrace their differences and combine their powers, instead of allowing their conflicting natures to tear them apart. When they joined their magic, their combined strengths and weaknesses entwined in a beautiful dance of opposites. United, they ensured mental well-being and harmony, bringing everything into balance. And their bond of brotherly love grew into an unbreakable force. Proud of their young protégés, Duncan and Willa realized they had fulfilled their purpose and that their work was done. So they bid farewell to Patrick and Liam, who they knew were now the realm's guardians in several vital ways. The twins vowed to use their magic to make the world a better place, just as they were taught by their mentors. In the tavern of Thistlehold, the night deepened, and the shadows of the flickering flames danced across the faces in the crowd. The storyteller prepared to wrap the evening up with his final tale, a story called The Quest of the Historian. There was a hushed anticipation while Brom turned the pages in the book until he found what he was looking for. His gentle and reassuring voice began to weave the tale for the audience, speaking of a kingdom where stories thrived. Amos, a historian in charge of the Royal Library, was known far and wide for his insatiable curiosity about the past. He believed that the key to understanding the world and learning from the lessons of history could be found in books. It was just another normal day at the library as Amos returned books to their proper places. But then he discovered an ancient scroll tucked away on a shelf. He almost didn't notice it, for it was so well hidden, and he had certainly never seen it before. Full of curiosity, he carefully picked it up and carried it to a nearby table. There, he took a seat and unrolled the sheets of parchment. As he began to read, Amos found that the scroll was full of tales about the people who lived long ago, detailing their triumphs, mistakes, and words of wisdom. The pages held much of the forgotten history of the kingdom, but many were torn and worn with age, meaning the accounts were incomplete. Those missing pages likely contained a wealth of knowledge, and Amos knew he must find them. He imagined all the invaluable lessons that would come from filling in the blanks, lessons that could guide the kingdom into a brighter future. Not to mention, he considered it his duty to protect and honor history. So, after locking up the library that night, Amos went home and packed. And the very next day, he set off on his quest. The backpack he carried was full of the provisions he would need, along with the scroll. He couldn't remember the last time he'd travelled, so his journey across the realm invigorated him. His search took him to the more remote areas of the kingdom, as he traversed vast deserts, crossed treacherous mountains, and hiked through dense forests. The trip was made even more special for the fellow adventurers and wise sages he met along the way. Each of them provided him with good company and shared insights to help him locate the missing pieces of the scroll. After many months of searching, and with the help of everyone he spoke to, Amos finally completed his quest and collected every lost piece of the scroll. He returned to the royal library a hero. Carefully unpacking his findings, he took a seat at a table and began to piece together the scroll's pages. The ancient document revealed a complete history of the kingdom, which he read from start to finish. The stories of compassion and bravery showed the strength of the human spirit. As Amos read the last words of the scroll, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Not only had his hard work helped to preserve the kingdom's history, but it also deepened the connection between the past and present. Word spread, and soon the ancient scroll became a treasure cherished by all. People from across the kingdom visited the library to read it, eager to learn from its pages. The same discovery was made by everyone who read the scroll, that history books weren't the only means of learning the lessons of the past. They could be found in all stories. As people were inspired by the scroll, the kingdom prospered in wealth and power, but more importantly, in compassion and wisdom too. Amos lived on as a famed historian, his tale a reminder that stories were so much more than simply words on a page. They could bridge the gap between generations, unlock the wisdom of the ages, and be a source of inspiration. The fire and candlelight bathed the tavern in a soft, flickering glow as the last story of the night came to an end. With Kipwick fast asleep on his shoulder, Brom gently closed the book. His white beard seemed to shimmer like moonlight, and after the countless tales he'd shared, he exuded an aura of wisdom. For a moment, no one spoke, as if they were all still suspended in the tale's enchantment. Then the people started to softly applaud one by one. It wasn't just Brom the villagers applauded, but the magic of storytelling itself. Grateful for the enchanting night of fairy tales, they thanked Brom for igniting their imaginations and transporting them to far-off lands. Smiling, Brom inclined his head to acknowledge their kind words, the movement waking Kipwick. The sprite smiled at the audience before falling back asleep. Brom told the small crowd that it had been their honor. By sharing stories, they found connection. With that, the night came to a close. Kipwick was still asleep on his shoulder as Brom bid their new friends good night and retired to their room in the inn. He put the little sprite to bed, imagining that his dreams were filled with the stories they had told. Their journey would continue tomorrow, but Brom knew that the two of them had left their mark on Thistlehold. And soon, their stories would touch the lives of new listeners in new places. But in this moment, Brom basked in the fulfillment that came from sharing stories. He was especially grateful to have these experiences with someone as delightful and spirited as Kipwick. Gazing out the window at the moonlit night, he felt a wave of satisfaction wash over him. Storytelling was a gift, a way to kindle the flames of imagination and inspire others, no matter where their wandering path may lead.